Hello guys, welcome to a new video of Fischer series. Today we go round number 8 of the Curaçao Candidates of 962. It's Fischer against Pal Benko. This is a beautiful game. Fischer crushes his opponent in the French defense, so I can't wait to show you the game. Fischer has the white pieces and he starts with e4. e6 by Benko, d4 and d5. This is the French defense, in which white can play the advanced French, the Tarrasch variation, the classical way, while Fischer plays knight c3, since during the 20th century, knight c3 and knight f6, the classical way, was very popular. Now we can play either e5 or bishop to g5, bishop g5 by Fischer. Here, pawn takes e4, knight takes e4, this is Altieri, bishop e7. And here we can take with the knight or with the bishop. Well, Fischer takes with the bishop, and after bishop takes, we did give away our bishop pair. But Fischer is arguing that after knight f3, his knight pair is stronger than your bishop pair here, since often in the French defense, the light squared bishop is trapped in by its own pawn chain, and the dark squared bishop is not doing much either, since all those dark squares are actually occupied by the two knights. So, for example, if Benko would play knight c6 here, simply c3, and the knight cannot do much either. So that's why here, knight to d7, rotating the knight to the king side, queen d2, bishop e7, saving the two bishops, long castles by Fischer, knight to f6, attacking the knight, bishop d3, short castles, knight takes, bishop takes. So now we're out of the opening. Let's see what happens. Benko is now attacking the central d4 pawn twice. So Fischer defends it with queen f4. But if Benko plays a slow move like a6 here, Fischer will play g4, g5 and really attack on the king side. So Benko plays actively with c5, temporarily sacrificing a pawn to open up his queen. Since Fischer was known to be a pawn grabber, he takes the pawn. Now queen a5, attacking the a2 pawn and the c5 pawn. But Fischer's like, well, I can defend both with queen c4. So what now? Well, now Benko plays bishop e7, piling up the pressure on this pawn. And you could try to save it with b4. But then we really weaken our king with queen to a3 check, king to b1, and something like a5. And all of a sudden the rook and the queen are opening up on the a file. So that's why Fischer doesn't save it. He actually goes attacking on the king side with h4. Now queen takes c5, wants to exchange queens. Fischer's not interested, queen e4, threatening checkmate. And if you play g6 here, then you're justifying this h4 move with h5 now. And you have to play f5 anyway. So that's why here Benko plays f5 in one go. Now queen e2. And now we have another weakness, the backwards e6 pawn. So what now? Well, Benko goes attacking as well with b5. But now Fischer finds a really nice move, knight to g5. And after bishop f6, we have the most critical position in the game. So I want to show you some lines. Well, let's first see what happens in the game. Fischer took the pawn, which dropped his advantage, and Benko took it back, which gave back the advantage. So, what is the best move here for Fischer? Well, it's not taking the pawn, even though we can actually grab it. It's attacked twice, only defended once. But the best move here is queen to h5, threatening checkmate. But okay, simply h6. But then we have queen to g6, a beautiful move. Pawn takes, attacking the bishop. If the bishop goes up, then we can actually win very easily with g6, threatening checkmate. And then if the bishop would go to e5, well, then we have rook to h7, rook to f7, now giving away the rook, taking your rook, and now threatening checkmate on the h file. So that's why queen to h5 is such a strong move here. And it's the only miss of Fischer in this game. But okay, after knight takes e6, why does the eval bar say it's equal now? Well, in this position, Benko took the knight, but he actually had another move. And to have some backstory, Fischer and Benko were actually in a little fight, a little discussion during this game. And that's why they also didn't analyze the game afterwards. But the day after, Benko actually went to Fischer and he said, Fischer, did you know that I actually had a draw in this game? And Fischer was like, no, you didn't have a draw anywhere. And then Benko showed him this move, bishop takes b2. Fischer looked at it, and then he just shrugged his shoulder and he walked away. But Benko was actually right. This does draw the game, since if you take the bishop, the only move actually, since if you come up, well, then you can actually get checkmated like this. And if you don't take the bishop, then you can get checkmated like this. So we have to take the bishop. King takes, and now we have a perpetual wherever you go. We just keep giving checks, even if you come up here. If you come up to e4, you're actually losing with rook to e8. So this would simply be a draw. But okay, both players didn't find it. Otherwise, Benko would have obviously played bishop takes b2 here. But he took the knight. Now, Fischer's back in the game with queen takes e6 check. King has to move. Not taking the pawn now, because then we have discovered check, winning the queen. So first king to b1. Now queen takes f2, queen takes f5, threatening checkmate. So we have to take the queen, bishop takes, and at the end of this combination, Fischer's up a pawn. But he still has to show some really nice endgame technique. So here g6, bishop to d3. And here it looks very logical to play a6, just defend this pawn. But Benko is going for a little trick. He plays rook to d8. Since if you take the pawn now, we can actually play rook to b8. And we all of a sudden have this pressure. So if you move the bishop, we win back 2 pawns, and this would simply be a draw. So that's why Fischer doesn't take the pawn here. He plays h5. And here Benko should have played g5. But he plays king to g7. Now pawn takes. And this is not a problem that the h file is getting opened up. But the problem here is that we now can take the pawn. Since if you pin it now, we have rook d7 check, king comes up, and bishop c4 check. And now you have to sacrifice your rook for the bishop. So, well, Benko's like, well, I can take your rook and now threaten this. But now after a4, a6, still we have this check. King has to move. And now we threaten winning your bishop. So Benko's like, well, I'm down 2 pawns. Let me grab your pawn and grab the bishop. And now it's a 3 against 2. And now not taking the pawn, then the rook would activate. So we actually play a5. Rook to a8, a6, and this is actually a winning endgame for Fischer. Benko tries to play on a bit with king to h5, king to b3, g5, and here king to b4, king to g4, king takes b5, king to g3, and after rook to d7 and g4 and a7, Benko resigned the game. Because there's literally no hope here. If you take the pawn, for example, then we play king to b6, g3, king to b7, and wherever your rook goes, we make a queen. And at the end, we would sacrifice the rook for the pawn. And, well, there's nothing you can do. Even if you do not move your rook, king to f2, king takes, g2, still we sacrifice the rook, and there's nothing black can do. I really hope you liked this video. If so, please like, subscribe, or comment, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.